Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning, Jamie.
How are you?
Pretty good. A little bit nervous in the beginning because I couldn't get in. It wouldn't let me get in. It said you have to sign in. I tried my Zoom sign in. It wouldn't let me in, but finally everything worked. So,
Good, good. You
yeah.
should have screen share, and just as soon as you're ready, just let me know and I'll kind of introduce you and we'll get
I'm
rolling.
ready anytime you are.
All right. So I'm going to hop on into it. I'm sure that we have some more people joining, but since we're so
Yeah.
crunched on time, we've got to go. So we have with us today Miss Cathy Davis, and she's going to talk about jam-packed Google tools, phone apps, and online resources. And Kathy is with the Recharge Grant and from Knox County Schools, and I will turn it over to you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks, Jamie. Welcome you guys to our Tech Day. I'm sure some people are still trying to figure out where to go, but just to kind of get us started, one of the things I want to start with is Google Classroom. So if you have questions throughout this presentation, please feel free to put questions in the chat. And if you'd use the chat right now, just to tell me your comfort level with Google Classroom. I use it. I've never used it. I'm a novice, I'm really good, or whatever. So I get a flavor for what my audience, because that's real important as far as where I'll go. Okay, good, good. I'm getting more comfortable. Okay, perfect. So some of you use it daily. So some of the stuff that I give you may not be new to you. Maybe it will. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the organization of it, because some of the people that I've talked to recently have said, oh, I'm just starting to use it, or I'm just starting to become familiar with it. I really haven't done much with it, and I don't use it. So that's one of the reasons why I put that in here. I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share. And if any questions come up and you want to know something, please do me a favor and put it in the chat. I'll keep that open. All right, so here we go. So one of the things I want to tell you about is with the Google Classroom, it's really good for setting up your classroom for the year, actually. Google Classrooms can be reused, lessons and so on that you have in there. They've made it so much more user-friendly. There's a multiple tool list over on the left, which you'll find, and we'll go to Google Classroom in a minute. I actually set one up for just this presentation. I primarily use slides and Jamboard because they're individual, but they're also corporate, and they can also be interactive. When we shut down for COVID, I was able to use those with students one-on-one, sometimes when they had questions, watch what they were doing, think out loud with them, and actually see their work in progress. But also they can attach projects. So the thing I like about Google Classroom is it really allows you to differentiate. And then you have the ability, I became more of a facilitator of their learning. I was able to do some more small group because kids could get in Google Classroom and they would be able to look at the slides, look at the presentation. I would videotape myself for the instruction. It lasted shorter than it would if I was in the regular classroom because I didn't have to get anybody under control or back in line. So your instructional videos last much shorter than they would actually take place in the classroom. And students could listen to those again and again. They could do note taking. There's a variety of things that they can do. So I'm going to go into the Google Classroom I set up. And the first thing I want to show you is this page. Here you have your stream, and if you're using Google Classroom all the time, you know the stream is a place where students can connect with you. I primarily told my students not to connect with me there because there's other places that are better. This gets all gummed up if you have students communicating there, and obviously if you're using Google all the time, you know that you can redo your background, you can customize it, which is what I did. Or you can use their patterns. This stream will show current assignments, and you join your meetings or you create your meetings over here on the left. There's your class code for people to join your class, even if they're not in your classroom, or you just want specific people in the classroom. Then if you toggle here, they now make this so that this used to show up all the time. You couldn't get rid of it. Now, if you hit your little 3 lines, it will just disappear and you'll just have the visuals. Then you have your labels across the top, people. That's where you're going to add teachers, administrators, etc., or students. Classwork is where we're going to focus for just a minute here. These are called topics. I always created topics. Now mine are very generic for this. It's technology, presentation, social, emotional well-being. And the reason why I use topics is if I had quarters, which we do here, I would put first 8 weeks, reading, science. I teach multiple subjects because I'm at the elementary level, but the topics help me differentiate what the lessons were about, what period of the day it was. And then under that, I always dated and put the day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That helped me keep track of the school year itself. Was it a 3-day week? What did I do during that? A 2-day week, a full week, etc. And also, it would have the NTIs in there, which are days when you don't have school due to weather or sickness or something like that, and you're still supposed to continue instruction. I would always know where those days fit in. Now, over here, these 3 dots, that's where you open it. You can edit it. You can delete a whole assignment. You can copy it. You can move it up and down, but you can also grab them and do the same thing. Now, they've changed this a little bit so that now when you view instructions, you actually see what the students see. This is how it comes across to them. So up here, it would tell how many points it was worth. Right below that are basic directions, and I always try to keep that brief. Some of you who use Google Classroom all the time probably already have experience. The more you have, the less they read. So I would just go ahead and put in just some bullet points. And sometimes I would put the rubric here too, what the overall goal was and what it would look like if they were successful. Now I'm just going to go into 2 tools in Google where you can add Jamboard or slides, and those 2 tools I use primarily because they were very accessible to the kids. They understood them, and they have access to those pretty easily on phones. Because sometimes kids will tell you, I can't do my work, it's on a phone. Oh yeah, you can. Look at this. I made the assignment on my phone. That would take that away. So I'm going to show you, these are old. You can see this one was done in 2022. And this is just a simple Jamboard. If you've never used Jamboard, when you open it up, it's going to be blank. Here's where you can set a background. And when you set a background, you can either choose what they have, or you can actually create your own and import it, which is what I did and taught the kids to do. And this was on haiku poetry. So you've got your reading/language arts. And up here, it tells you how many slides are in that Google Jamboard. There are 20 pages. When I first started this, there were 20 pages. Only the first one was full. This was mine. It was a haiku as an example or a rubric. That's always what I would put on the first page. Something that gives them an idea of what a finished product is going to look like. And my name's there. Their problem was to create their own, like I did, but then I wanted to make it more interactive. I didn't want them just to go in, create one, and leave. I also wanted them to be aware of the 5-7-5 pattern on more than one occasion, so it would cement it in their head. So on the other pages, you're going to see that students created a haiku, but that other students responded. They would add a sticky with their name and basically say something about that poem. And sometimes they would notice that they had an extra syllable, and they would give that student an idea on how to eliminate one. So it became an editing feature as well. So this is some of the other ones. Yeah, this kid did one on me and made their own little pictures. But you can see that they made pictures, that they did everything that they were supposed to do. It looks very much like what I did. And you can see other student responses on that. So that became individual lesson, but as well, it became a corporate lesson. And here, we did the other option they had, is I always like to give them choice. They could do a haiku or free verse. So this was the free verse one, and it looks like it's trying to connect, reconnecting. So many people on right now. Is my Zoom meeting still going? Yes, good. All right. Let's See if it opened up. There. Again, there were 20 slides, and the students came in and they did their own thing, and you can see that they also responded here. And this was free verse, which is a different type of poetry. For some of them, they didn't want to be hemmed in by the 575 pattern, and so they had another option. I also used Google Jamboard with my students, or allowed them to use it because they got quite good with it, for presentations. Now, this is a group of 5 that was doing a presentation on the Oregon Trail, and just by looking at it briefly, you can see that they added some fun facts. That was something that they added. They always knew what the rubric was, and if they wanted to go above and beyond and be sure that they were going to get an A, they had to go above and beyond. They had to talk about rewards and risks and what the whole idea was. What was the Oregon Trail and who was on it and that kind of thing. This was just one page, and they didn't use everything here. Is not everything they talked about it, but it was the highlights, so that as they were presenting, they had this in the background on the large screen on the AVER panel to help guide them, so that if they were nervous or whatnot, they could do that. Now, to show you, you can use it in there's social studies, language arts, and readings. Let's take a look for math. I love this in math because they can move stickies around. They needed in 4th grade, they have to be able to do conversions. So here we are looking at the gallon man, and by looking at them, they could see, once they created them and made their quarts around there, that there are 4 quarts in a gallon, 2 pints in a quart, 2 cups in a pint, or 4 cups in a quart. So they could use this as a means to not only remember how many pints are in cups and so on, or cups and pints, they could also use it to help them then in their math to make their go from gallons to quarts and so on. Now, there's other ways you can use this. I used it obviously with science. In science, we would label diagrams in Jamboard. Here's Google Slides. So I'm going to slip over to Google Slides. It's a lot like Jamboard, except here on the left is where you can see how many pages there are. And again, the first page was one I created. This was for science. They were researching plants, animals, and so on. And they had to have at least 3 images. And I left it open that they could create their own. Up here is one I created on tulips, because I did it on tulips. We had just got done planting some for cancer awareness and so on like that in the front of the school. And so I was using that as my subject matter. They had to have at least facts, 3. I had them more than 3, obviously, if they want to really push hard for that higher grade. But they had to import pictures. They could create a collage, and for that, a lot of them would use their phones and then email it to themselves. There was a pattern that they had to learn, and so it allowed for those that were technology savvy to be able to excel and show those skills. So I like that. This was an individual assignment. This, of course, was the rubric was on the first page in the lesson, and this had an idea or what a finished product would look like if they really wanted to do well on it. And the blank one was obviously for them. And then the other one was the Greek mythology project that we used. Now on this one, I chose to put the directions and what was required right on the first slide this time, just to see if it would make a difference in their grades as far as how much they incorporated, because sometimes students wouldn't go back to Google Classroom and look, did I hit all the things that are in the rubric? Then, of course, I gave them an example, and here's an example of student work that came in, because on the blank slides, that's where the students would do their work. So how you access Google Jamboard and so on is in classwork. If you want to create a new lesson, you go to create. And if you're going to do an assignment, you can do that here. If you want to reuse a post, and this is why I told you about the topics and dating them well. If I wanted to reuse any of these, if I click reuse and I open that up, all my assignments for the year are going to come up. And I can pick which one I want to reuse. I click on it, and then I click reuse. If I want a different class, let's say I wanted to pull something up that I did, let's see, in this classroom, I'd click on that. This was a practice run. But see, you can see NTI days, 26 through 30. All my NTI days there. There are all kinds, these are all just ideas, notes and so on that I was using in that class. And that was actually just a secondary class that I used to hold things up. This is Turner's class. And I worked with her at first grade, so this is a little bit different. First graders didn't go in there all the time, but their parents did, so we structured that one different. And here's my STEAM class, which is this year's class. They don't go in there very much. It's a special, but again, I am dating it so that I know what I used when and putting things like that in there. You can reuse your posts. Then when you click on there, it'll come in like this. It'll be gray. That means it's a draft, and it'll say draft. You click on edit, you change it up, add videos, take videos out, add in instructional videos, add in whatever you want, and then you assign it, and then it shows up and it turns color. And again, these colors can all be changed just simply by saying customize. You can select a different theme, and then everything now will turn like a blue. I say this and save it. And now I've got a blue. Let's see if there's any questions so far. Nothing. Okay. So again, you're going to get to Google Jamboard or Google Slides. You get that? I'll go through here. Go over to Google Drive. You can go right through your Google Drive. It will save everything there. Here's new under Google Drive. It doesn't show up right away, and that's what was confusing for a lot of people. Google Docs do, Google Slides do, Google Forms do. Hit more. Then you'll get Google Drawing, Maps, Sites, Apps, and Jamboard is right there. And if you click on it, it'll open a new one, and that's how you get started on them. If you have questions as far as Google Forms or any of those other Google things, I will give my information at the end because I use all of them, primarily because they'll grade for you. They'll import into your grades. There's a bunch you can do, but I see that a lot of you have been using it, so I'm not going to talk too much about that stuff. I'm going to get into my other things here. Let me take that right here. Let me get my tabs right here. Where'd it go? There we go. All right, so let's open up, not my grid, my Jamboard. Closed my, there we go. All right, so that's Google Jamboard and that's Google Slides, kind of briefly. The other thing I told you about is that you can actually put assignments in there. So while we were in COVID, my kids didn't skip a beat because they'd been in Google Classroom the whole time. So when we went home on that March 15th, we didn't skip a beat. We had an election on Google Classroom. We had, and you'll see my weatherman right here in a minute. We also had assignments. One of them was in science. Again, they were researching animals, and they had to do either a Google slide, a Jamboard. They had a choice. This student chose to make video, which I'm going to show you quick because I think he did a great job. And again, I pulled this up from the past. You can see he's got some gifts of technology. He's got it sound, music. These are the kind of products I was getting, by the way, like from fourth grade. That's important to note that they're capable of so much more. And I love the way he ended that. This one's a very short one. And just so you know, that young man, that was 2020, he still does Drew's News, and people even buy t-shirts and so on from him. All right. That is another way that you can use Google Classroom, where the kids actually create their own products and put them in there. I didn't give them a video of myself on that particular instance to follow. They just had a rubric to follow, and they followed it. Now I'm going to move into the social emotional part. And for that one, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Marco Polo. I don't know how many people know about Marco Polo. I'm going to show you a quick little thing here about it, and then hopefully try to break you off into groups. And what I want you to do is discuss in your group, what is it from what you can see? How do you think you could use it, and what would the benefits be?
Kathy, we can't hear your audio when you're sharing from your slides.
Oh, can you hear any of the video at all?
We can't hear the audio from the video, no.
No, not on any of them. All right, well, I tried them on Zoom yesterday and they were all working. This is just an introduction to what Zoom is. And basically, that's my sister, and she's saying, Kathy, what you can do is, and this is Marco Polo, this is her Marco Poloing me. And she says, Kathy, basically, you make the video, and when you do, it has your picture and your voice, and people can look at it and respond to it anytime they want to. It doesn't just go away. And actually, you can download them. So it's a way for social emotionally teachers. I know I have some teachers that are from different areas. They're not from Kentucky. And also in the last Zoom meetings, I've heard several people saying, I wish I had this, or I wish I had that. I wish I could record my mom. Well, these are ways that I found that I could record my family through Marco Polo like this, because this video, she's gone. She's no longer with us, but I still have her videos. So you can see them, you hear them, and you can download the conversation and actually save it in your Google Drive. So, and it looks like this. It's in apps on your phone. So what I want to do is give you an opportunity to go into your phone and look on apps and download it right now. Maybe even try it out, but I'm going to put you in breakout rooms so that in a breakout room, you can add somebody from the breakout room and maybe even try it yourselves, just to give it a whirl. I like Marco Polo. I use it with my children who live in California, Las Vegas, in Alabama, and I use it with lots of family members that are in Michigan and just around different places. So I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. Hopefully I can do this good. Absolutely do the free version. You just have to download any Marco Polos that you want to save before 30 days are up, when they actually empty out, because so many people are in there probably. But you can do it with groups. We did it as a family group. We got together and we Marco Poloed a happy birthday to somebody whose birthday it was, and they were able to get on and see that later, and they loved it, and they Marco Poloed me back to tell me. So it's a great way to, grandmas and stuff like that will usually respond, and then you get grandma's face and their voice, or if they don't want their face in there, you can just record their voice and they can give a little statement to their grandkids. And that's a way to get their voices, if nothing else. Because I know I heard somebody saying they really wish they could get their mom's voice. And that's one way I did for me. Other thing, word wall. I really want to show you about that. Let's see, here we go, jam-packed. We're going to go over to the last slide. Word wall is interactive. I don't know whether or not you know about it. There are templates that you can use. You can use it as a student activity. And by the way, on this slide is my contact information, my email, and my cell phone, which you can text me at or call me at if you ever have questions. Word wall. I'm going to go back into the Google Classroom. I'm sharing that. At least I hope I'm sharing still. Yes? Yes. Good. Go back into the classwork. And here it is. I'm going to view it. The reason why I like WordWall is it is just something you get online. And when you get it,
Kathy,
what's that?
we can't see your screen. Your screen share's on.
Okay. Screen share is
Sorry.
on. No, that's okay. Tell me, because mine said it was still on. All right. Now, can you see it again? Can we see it now?
Yes, you're good now.
Okay, good. So I was working with long A sounds, and I wanted my kids at this point, first graders, to be able to read these words fast. So rather than just do flashcards, it makes it game-like, right? You can see this. And the thing I like about it is I entered these words. I would spin the wheel. A word would come up. They'd shout it out as soon as it stopped. And then you can eliminate that word or just resume. If you eliminate it, it takes that off the wheel and it rebuilds the wheel and you can spin it again. And they just loved doing that. The other thing I used WordWall with, oh, tell me that I did that. I did. All right. Got to go back into my classrooms. I do that. You got so many tabs open up. And that tells me I'm just about out of time. Here we go. Here we go. There's also templates already made up, and you can use those as well. All right. Sentences with Bitmoji. I'll show you that one in a minute. And every time you click on one of their templates, they'll also have a bunch of ideas down here. These you can use for free. You can use all of this for free, but you can only make 5. You can use 5 different lessons for free. After that, you have to pay, and I'll show you what their costs are. It's not that bad. This one is a CVC pattern, consonant, vowel, consonant, and you can use this for science, math, anything with vocabulary. It opens up and it gives them a question. They have to answer it, and this is the pup has a kiss. They have to read that, and it'll tell them whether they're right or wrong. It times them, how many they get right, how many they get wrong, right? Which is cool. They like that. And then if you're in there, another assignment that I had done was categorizing. And these were blend, sh, and th. They had to categorize them and it timed them. If you go down over here, my results along that label, I had a bunch of kids try this out. It will give you the results as well. So here's the first time I did it. You can see 32 students did it. Average score was 21.6 out of the 22. Fastest time was about 2.6 seconds per choice. And it'll tell you that 2 were missed, 1 were missed by the little gray there. Tell you which ones. And when you come down here, it'll give you all of your choices here, and it tells you which ones were missed. Gives you all the data that you want. Here's their names. I just had them put their first names in, and it'll tell me how much time it took them. So I can see this one is not as quick as I'd like, and this one's not as quick as I like. This one's recognizing real fast. So I know which ones to group together so that they practice those sounds a little bit more. So I like that. Creating a word wall itself is this link. I'm going to put that in the chat a minute so that you can get there. It should work. Hopefully it does. Let's try this out. That link should take you in there so that you can actually get into that word wall. And the email for that is wordwall.net if you need it. That's it right there. And my 2 activities are there. So I know I've used 2 of my 3. Now let me get into the logistics of kind of what it costs. So I put that in here. You'll also have access to this, which will give you the information. It's free, there's no cost, but it's limited. You can have 5 activities, okay? 18 standard templates that you can choose from, and you can use anything under the templates for free. So you can use more than those, they're ready-made. If you want a standard plan, which would allow you to make printables, that would be about $86 a year, but if you paid it at a year at a time, they'll give you a discount, you get $77. or around $7 a month. That's not bad. To get the Pro plan, which gives you everything, it's about $10 a month. And you can join and unjoin that kind of a thing. And I'm going to have to end it right there and ask if there are any questions from you guys. Word wall is really, really excellent. If you brought a word list, you're going to want to use that right there. You can toggle through the templates, look at each of them before you decide, and then choose one. You input your words, and it builds everything for you. It's very, very simple to use, and the kids can use it, and they understand, and they loved it. They absolutely loved it when I tried it out with my kids. Any questions anybody have on any of that stuff? I'm going to put my email in the chat just in case, and my cell phone. That way you have them. All right. Is word wall, losing that question there. Yes, Google does have internal recording, and they use that, and then used another, that young man used another thing in order to edit it. I don't know who asked that question. Let's see. Is WordWall a part of Google? No, it's a separate website. It's word.net. You put it up in your search bar and it'll come up. Like the reason. Okay. What types of student activities did you do with Marco Polo? I have not done any student activities with Marco Polo because when I wanted my kids to do videos, I used Flip. And yeah, I used Flip a lot. I did not miss a beat with reading because I just used Flip for that. And they would all, I put that in Google Classroom, and then they would record their reading and I would listen to all.
Because I've got to do these meetings all morning. I got to go get ready in just a little bit. And then I'm
Kathy, you got muted somehow.
I was muting that other gal. I used the Google camera for recording, and I used Flip primarily. I did not use Marco Polo with my students because it's an app on a phone, and in our district, students really aren't supposed to use their phones. The only time I have student phones out is when I want to do virtual reality, and then I have to have special permission, and I have to show parents exactly what app to download, and then I just use certain kids' phones for that because we're not supposed to really use phones. I use Marco Polo primarily for myself, for social emotional. As a teacher, staying in contact with family members is pretty critical. And if you have family members that live away from you, especially if they're kids, whatnot, that is a great way to stay in contact. And it's better than a phone call because a phone call, you're leaving messages all the time, and either they get them or they don't. And in Marco Polo, they can see you, you can see them, you can hear them, and you can respond when it's convenient for you. So, does that help? Any other questions? Well, thanks for coming, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. There's a lot of great offerings out there. And if you have things that you want from me as far as the Google Classroom, please feel free to either email me or call me or text me. I'd be more than happy to help, or even sit down with you and show you some more ins and outs and how to find them. Okay? Bye, you guys. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Awesome job. That was great.
You're very welcome. I want to make
Great
sure.
job, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. You guys got about 9 minutes to be able to lock into your next session or less. So I think I did all right time-wise. I tried to make sure I had.
Great job.
Thanks. Well, except for my videos. I really wish they could have heard those because that little boy on crayfish gave wonderful information about that crayfish. And in the end, he asked, don't forget when you're done, release them and be safe out there, which was not even in the rubric, but there he added more, and it was kind of cool.
Sound can be a little tricky sometimes with Zoom, so.
It is, and I was using both Google Meet and Zoom to practice this stuff, and one is not exactly synonymous with the other.
Right. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next session. If you're
all right. Bye, you guys.
Bye.